This is Bookmarks with Richard Gadds.
Hi there, Richard Gadds here. With me today I have the historical novelist Chloe Turner. Before I ask you about anything else, Chloe, tell me what it's like to stand for Parliament.
Quite the roller coaster. It was my first time, and it was a little bit overwhelming. Brand new constituency, so no one really knew what it was going to be like, and absolutely huge. Takes more than an hour to drive from one side to the other.
Oh, so, right, really big constituency.
Absolutely. Cool. So in 6 weeks, even sort of getting round it was pretty impossible. But no, fascinating experience. I met lots of really great people, and yes, I don't know whether I'd do it again. It's a bit like childbirth. It might take a few years before I could even consider it.
Before you forget the pain of it all. Yeah,
yes,
right.
Absolutely.
Oh dear. How was election night?
Well, that was really good fun. So there were two counts happening, North and South Cotswolds, in the same leisure centre.
Ah, right.
And, very glamorous. And all the candidates were there, and you can watch the votes coming out. So you can see each different box from each different polling station, right. And you can get a rough idea of how you did, and in my case, not terribly well. but really interesting. And my family were quite involved in the process, so they got a lot out of that. And but there's a lot of camaraderie between the candidates on the night, and it's not nearly the kind of, there's no political sort of. Everyone's in the same situation, and everyone's a bit nervous. So it was good fun, and certainly an experience I'll treasure.
Yeah. Well, it's a good source of stories for the long winter evenings.
Yes.
Because the Greens did very well in Bristol.
Yes, Bristol and Brighton and Waveney Valley and North Herefordshire were our targets, and we now have an MP in all of them, so that's really exciting. So we were really just supporting that effort in the Cotswolds.
Jolly good. Right. Okay. To business. Tell us all about the book. It's called Blue Hawk.
It is, yes. So, historical novel set in 17th century Gloucestershire, and it's about a young woman who is finding a place in what was obviously a very male-dominated world, the woolen industry in Stroud at that time, and she has lots of different challenges within her family, a sister who is very much in it for herself, a father who is consumed with alcoholism, and she has lost her mother, so really about her battling all of that and trying to find a place for herself in the world.
Right. What? How did you develop the story? What are the roots of it?
Well, I did a lot of research. There are little fragments of hints of women who did this, who managed to create a place for themselves in this industry. No one woman who sort of went all the way, but enough to give you an idea that somebody could have done. Many women who, through the loss of their spouse, inherited a business, and some of them took it and ran with it. And then other little hints from around the country of women who had evidently managed to create businesses. There was a woman in Norfolk recently, a trading token that was found where she had run a successful, I think it was a baking business, and was issuing her own currency effectively to buy stock in that business. Yeah. So lots of little fragments here and there that I put together to create the character, and it's very much a work of fiction, but inspired by some of those women who would have achieved things.
Is there a particular reason you picked that period of time?
I think where I live, which is in just above the Chalford Valley where the book is set, you can't help but walk through the landscape and see the 17th century there. The architecture is still very much there, the mill buildings, some of them in whole but in part, and some of them sort of incorporated into the modern architecture. So I suppose I have a historical background in I did an archaeology degree a long time ago, so when I'm walking around a landscape I'm always very conscious of what's there or a few feet under. And you very much live it, and there's also the modern day legacy of the textile industry. They're still making fabrics across the area. There's a really thriving new fibre industry, people who are creating fibres, who are creating plant-based dyes, and that's really exciting. So we've got the historical, but we've also got a new tradition that's emerging locally.
Yeah. What was your writing process on this? Why did you aim to make this a novel rather than a short story or anything like that?
I have written a lot of short stories. I think I felt there was enough themes that I wanted to explore here that a short story wouldn't have been sort of big enough and long enough to do that. So, and when I started writing it, it just sort of unrolled for me really into novel form. I've written other novels before, so it was something, I was familiar with the form, and it just felt like the right sort of length for it really.
What's your experience of publishing?
So I've had a short story collection published before, and quite a lot of short stories published in various magazines and things. Never got anywhere with a novel before, and it for some people it's a long game, isn't it? It doesn't necessarily come immediately. So, but it's been lovely to get there actually with a novel now, because that was always my ultimate aim.
Yeah. I always ask this of historical writers. How important is it to you to get all those little historical details right? Because I know I was talking to Sean Scott Wilson not very long ago, and we're both quite, niggly about making sure that every little thing is correct, unless it contradicts the story.
Right.
You know what I mean? So where do you stand on that?
Yeah, I think, I did do a lot of research, and it's one of those things, it's so fascinating, isn't it? And you go down all sorts of rabbit holes, and there's a real danger that you end up, doing almost a PhD on the subject.
Yes.
Actually, it's got to be about writing a story, not about, loading on lots of details. So, it is a balance, isn't it? And I suppose I tried to be true to this historical material that I'd found, but equally, and I did acknowledge this in the acknowledgements at the end of the book, there were some areas where I deliberately chose to make small tweaks to make the story have an integrity of its own. I was really, really lucky that Ian McIntosh, who is a very established local historian who set up the Stroud Textile Trust, amongst other things, was kind enough to read it for me. So at least I knew what the deliberate mistakes were. And he did actually.
Yes, well done. You spotted them.
He was very, in addition to helping with some of the sort of more technical details around the textile industry, he did also spot one character who died and then mysteriously came back to life in an early draft. So, yes, grateful to Ian for that as well.
Yes, I've had editors say, this character has red hair on page 12 and a dark beard on page 150, which is it,
Yeah, I think, and you'll know this, until you actually write a novel, it's just so many words, isn't it? I think this was 90,000 or something, so it takes an incredibly long time to write that many words, and holding them all in one go is quite difficult. And then there's the editing process, and you're obviously extremely careful with that, and try to be as scrupulous as possible. But sometimes you do get a bit blind to the book, don't you? Especially by the end of the process. And so it's so helpful to have other people read it through the editing, the copy editing and the proofreading process, and catch those little things.
I don't know if you find, but as you say, you sort of hold it in your head for months on end, and it's sort of, and after you type the end, there's this sort of deflation, where you think, oh, phew, and you get up the next morning and you think, oh, hang on, I haven't got anything to do today.
Exactly. And then, of course, it's the length of the publishing process. So even if you get published quickly, and I didn't for various reasons to do with COVID and other bits and bobs, but even then it's many months before, and possibly years before you've got the book in front of you. So I have had to reread it, the past few weeks, because the real danger, you can't actually remember what happened.
No, well, I have to confess, I try never to read my own stuff.
It's fairly painful,
because
isn't it?
The minute I pick it up, I think, oh no. awful.
Exactly,
You know,
especially
so,
if you've had a few, a period in period, so you are seeing it with fresh eyes.
Yes,
and if you've worked on other pieces since, then
yeah, it's absolutely fatal. I can't.
Yes.
Are you looking to write something else in the same period?
Yes, I've got another book that I'm working on. It's set slightly earlier, about sort of 60 years earlier, also in Gloucestershire. There was a big flood that came up the River Severn in 1606. Well, the date varies depending which text you read, but which unfortunately killed 1,000 people. It was a huge tidal surge.
Oh,
and
yes,
you may have read about it.
I saw the documentary of
Okay.
it.
Oh,
It was
right,
a while
yes.
ago, yeah.
And so it's another piece which it's a female protagonist again, and she is separated from her love interest by this flood, and it's about how they find each other again.
Yeah.
And it also explores the pin making industry, which was very big in Gloucester at the time, and I'm quite big on nerdy industries of the 17th century.
Somebody's got to be.
Yes, hopefully there are a few other people who are interested as well.
I think this is the event, isn't it, where they think there was some sort of geological something off the coast of Ireland.
Different theories abound,
Yeah.
and it's happened a few times, and I think we're actually overdue another one, if you believe
Quite
some
probably,
of
yes.
some of the people who write about such things.
So we'll be talking to you from underwater next week, folks.
Exactly. It's interesting having a councillor role that has some sort of responsibilities for, water and flooding in the area, as well as writing about these things.
You get an early warning. Run!
Yes.
Oh, but I'm quite scared now.
Yes. Do you know how far above sea level you are here?
Well, I know we're well above the river level.
Right, yes.
Because actually we used to live on a floodplain
Okay.
years ago, so it wasn't
Yes.
we moved away.
I mean,
But,
of course, parts of central Bristol were flooded in
yes,
that event,
yeah.
and yes, I think Bath was all right. I suspect you're probably fine here.
Yes, hopefully, yeah, fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Yes, it's surprising actually how low to the sea some of Bristol is,
Yes,
isn't it?
definitely. Yeah.
I'll tell you one thing about Bristol that amazed me is how many caves there are under there.
Yeah. Lovely.
I'm sorry, listeners, I've bored you with this before, haven't I? But it just astonished me. It's one of the things that inspired what I'm doing now.
Okay.
Because
Right. That's interesting.
I thought you assume it's all sort of down by Wookey Hole and
Yeah.
Cheddar Gorge and all that sort of thing, but no, it's everywhere.
The Avon Gorge has got some really spectacular caves, hasn't it?
Yeah,
And, yes. I went to a really interesting performance of, I can't remember which Shakespeare play it was now, but it was in a sort of cavern under the Severn Bridge, from where that was built, and it was conducted by kind of candlelight and parts of it in darkness.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Oh, what's your approach to characters?
I don't know really. I mean, I think we're all informed a bit by people we meet, aren't we? I also, I've got a friend, Stephanie Carty, who is a writer but also a psychologist, and I'm really informed by some of her non-fiction work around the development of character, using kind of I don't know that sort of discipline, and yes, I think I find the plot and the character are quite intertwined. So as the plot unfolds, your character sort of develops with it, and they sort of slightly inform each other. It starts off as being, what would a person do, but then as the person starts to form, it would be what would be interesting to test them next, and so they bounce off each other a bit for me. How about you?
Oh well, I find the same. I usually sort of sort out a cast of characters, as it were, beforehand. 2 or 3 kind of drop out.
Right.
As
Okay.
get into the
Survival
plotting
of the
thing.
fittest.
Yeah, survival of the fittest, and the rest sort of weave themselves into the. I'm amazed actually how quite often in writing something, a change in direction of the plot is suggested by a character.
Right. Yes.
I don't know if you found that.
Yeah,
But
definitely.
it's something I never expect to happen, and then suddenly you think, but so and so, if they turned up here, that would throw this out and that, and then
Yes.
and it makes
yeah.
things more interesting. It's peculiar, isn't it? How characters
Definitely.
sort of really do have a life of their own.
Yeah, and sometimes it's not the main character, is it? You know, in
yeah.
Blue Hawk, the sister Alice, was one of the most fun characters to write because she's not terribly pleasant.
They're always the greatest, aren't they?
Yes,
the nasty ones.
Yes, they really can drive the plot, and you can just just see how much you can get out of them, how much you can twist the screws to make things awkward for your main character. I think we are probably quite horrid as writers, aren't we, in terms of what we put our characters through.
Well, I've been accused more than once of being very cruel.
Yes.
Characters, and I think, they're not real, they're made up. Yeah. But you don't it's not that you don't care about them.
No.
It's that you're quite prepared, to have them die or, suffer or whatever. There's this kind of cathartic thing.
Exactly. And if you're not writing a book that's about, war and that sort of conflicts, you do need that kind of psychological conflict. So you've got to be quite horrid to them, I think, to actually introduce that tension that makes books interesting.
Yes. I mean, what I'm doing now, there's some really horrible snobs,
right?
And I'm thoroughly enjoying having them be horribly elitist.
Excellent. Yes.
Whether readers will find that the same, I do not know. But there you go. So, how far along with the next book are you?
I think I'm probably about 3/4 of the way through, but just the first draft, so a lot of work to do. And actually, with I've been through 2 elections back to back, so it's been quite a long time since I've actually written anything on it. So I probably need to go back and look at the whole thing with fresh eyes, I think.
Yes. Yes, it's one of those things, isn't it? When you've finished and you read it back to yourself, it's one of those things you sort of have to do.
Yes.
But you approach very nervously.
Yes.
Or I do anyway.
Absolutely. And it can be quite painful, but it can also be quite encouraging, and definitely that having fresh eyes and being able to see the whole thing is so valuable. So a little bit of distance is definitely helpful.
How much do you find you change in the editing process? Because I have to, true confessions, I hate the whole editing process.
Yes.
Going over it and redoing it, as necessary as it is and as valuable as it is, I do find it really tedious.
Yeah, I think it depends a bit on the book, doesn't it? This Blue Hawk is broadly chronological. I have written other books where there's been much more jumping around, and I've ended up writing each chapter, summary onto index cards and then laying them all out on the carpet and fiddling them around and doing all sorts of complicated things. So, and that can be quite fun actually, but also quite stressful.
You're a note spreader.
Yes.
That's the thing. Yeah, I do the same. It's all over the...
I mean, there are lots of software, tools and things like that, aren't there, for writers? But I don't think there's any substitute for just getting down on the floor with the index cards and playing with it.
No, just having it right in front of your eyes.
Yes.
It's that there.
Yes,
That's the
definitely.
thing. Otherwise, you forget things.
Yes. Yeah.
You think, oh no, I had to kill somebody off in chapter 12 and I didn't do it. And all that sort of thing. So, do you find you need to get into a writing routine, or are you the sort of writer that will sort of pick it up and put it down? And
I think I've had to become a bit more of the pick it up and put it down because I have much less time than I used to. But there's a lot to be said, isn't there, for having that routine, and it doesn't always come. When you sit at the desk, sometimes you feel like, oh, nothing's going to come today, but you've got to just sit there and maybe do something else, maybe just write a bit of something, a random bit off the top of your head, or set yourself a 5-minute prompt to get into it. But and then sometimes those can be the most productive sessions. You can then go on and write 2,000 words without a breath. But yes, a routine is helpful, definitely.
Yeah, I was once told by a writer, always finish off in the middle of a sentence.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Because it gets you going again. And I've done that ever since. And it's quite a good tip. Yeah. Because if you finish one sentence, you can start another one.
That's very good.
And Yeah, well, I've always found that quite useful.
Yeah, I might take that away with
Yeah,
me.
and I don't know if you find again, but if you've been sort of sitting at the keyboard for 2 hours and you've ground to a halt, I find 5 minutes or 10 minutes, loud music,
Oh, okay.
dancing up and down,
Yeah.
you know, like there's nobody there, and actually it kind of refreshes your brain.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I've been getting into that kind of thing quite a lot recently because
Oh,
I've found all these things that are quite.
Yeah, and I find actually what I'm reading is quite helpful sometimes. I mean, I tend not to read historical fiction when I'm writing historical fiction because you can get sort of drawn too closely.
Yeah.
But sometimes something totally different, it will just give you a new slant on a character, or give you a different vibe that kind of feeds in.
Yeah.
So I definitely. Some people don't really read anything when they're writing, but I find it very helpful because it just keeps my brain creative to have different sources coming in.
Yeah.
And that might be kind of non-fiction, it might be wildly different, speculative fiction or something just totally
something in a different genre.
Yeah.
But yeah,
and I find that really helpful.
Yeah. Do you find, where do you think your natural habitat is? In politics or in literature?
I think I've established that politics at the national level is not my natural habitat. But I mean, I absolutely love being a local councillor, and I think meeting people and helping people with problems is something I love as a day job. And meeting people, all sorts of different people, definitely feeds into my writing as well. I mean, I don't take people and prop them in as characters. That's not the way it works, is it?
No, you can't do that. People are too weird.
Yeah.
I always say that.
And apart from anything else, people might be offended if you did that. But
well, they never spot themselves.
No, probably not.
No.
And particularly if you take someone from the modern day and put them into a totally different era, and perhaps a totally different relationship in the family and a different profession and everything else. But I'm definitely influenced by scenarios that I experience and the way people interact with each other and the way familiar relationships play out. That's a big theme in my writing, is the way, within families we love each other more than anybody else, but actually we're probably also more horrid to each other or certainly some people are, and because which buttons to press, and family members are probably the people who can hurt you most, aren't they? And who you want to impress most, perhaps. And I mean, it's different in every family, but there's so much to explore, isn't there? In that tiny world that can also be really big.
Well, so many of the sort of epics, in books and films and everything, they all boil down to family conflict, don't they? I mean, every soap opera, a lot of Game of Thrones, so many sort of, vast canvases are really very, very intimate stories.
Exactly, yes. And something like Game of Thrones, where the writing is so epic, you're quite right, it does boil down to that really careful, clever characterisation and the way they interact, and that's what makes it so fascinating. So,
So where do you think you'd like to be in, say, that sounds terribly interview question, doesn't it? In 5 years' time, when you've got your books on the shelves, sort of thing.
I'd love to have, got another couple of novels under my belt. I'd like to be known for a certain sort of historical fiction, I think. I still enjoy writing short stories, so I think that will be something that remains important for me. And there's something about the immediacy of short story. They're very accessible to readers, but they're also, from a writing point of view, you get that reward much more quickly, both in terms of having finished the piece, but also it's easier to get them published, and that's rewarding in itself. So I'd love to work towards another short story collection as well.
Excellent. Well, Blue Hawk is, am I right in it's out now?
It is, yes.
Right, and it has a gorgeous cover.
Oh, thanks.
And it's already been getting some terrific reviews.
Thank you.
Chloe Turner, thank you very much for taking the trouble to come and talk to us today. And I shall look forward to reading Blue Hawk.
Thank you very much, Richard.
Thank you.
That was Bookmarks with Richard Gadds. For more, visit www.richardgadds.co. bookmarks.co.uk.